In this next section, we're going to be talking about trigonometric ratios. You will hear almost everybody, instead of saying that entire word, trigonometric. There's lots of ways that different people pronounce it. Most people will just actually refer to these as trig ratios. Okay? So this warm-up is extremely simple today, but obviously it's skills that we're going to need to be successful today when we learn about these trig ratios. So the first one, it just asks us to write each fraction as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay? We can use calculators in this. So if you have one of the fancy graphing calculators, that's great. I'll probably be giving most of my directions just from a basic calculator today, just with those trig functions on them. But all we have to do to write 2/3 as a decimal is just divide it, right? And we're going to round it to the nearest hundredth, right? So that's going to be, two places after the decimal, right? We have tenths and then hundredths. So I have 0.6666 repeating, right? So we're going to have to round that next, since the thousandths term is above 5, we're going to round it up. So when we divide here, we'll get 0.67, right? So really, pretty simple concept there. I think we're fairly good at rounding. The next one, we'll just take 7 divided by 24 in a calculator, okay? And we get 0.291, right? And so since that thousandths place is a 1, we're just going to keep that hundredth of 9. So this is just going to be 0.29. Okay. Now they're going to ask for most of the answers to the nearest hundredth today, so it's definitely good practice for what we're going to be doing. Okay. The next part here, it asks us to solve each equation. Really, these are good examples of proportions. If you want to say this is like 0.8 over 1, and then we could use the cross products property, and that's totally fine. We will sort of refer to that today, maybe a little bit, but really all we're doing is we're going to end up multiplying both sides here by x, right? And so I'll multiply this by x and this by x, and I'll end up with now these x's will kind of cross cancel here, and I'll have 0.8x equals 5.8. And then I'll divide both sides by 0.8. Really, we're still using the cross products property, okay? So we'll divide those by 0.8. 0.8 over 0.8 just divides to 1. And so we have x equals 5.8 divided by 0.8 gives us a result of 7.25. Okay, so very, very simple stuff, especially when we're able to use a calculator. Okay, I guess on the last one here, kind of the same idea. This time all we have to do to solve is we're going to multiply both sides by 8.5. Okay, so I know my 4 is kind of in the way here, but this is 8.5 over here. Multiplied by 0.94. These will cross cancel. X is already isolated, okay? And I have to find out what is 8.5 times 0.94. And that gives us a result of 7.99. Okay, so we'll be dealing a lot with calculators today. I'll try to be really detailed with which buttons you should actually press first, given a, probably the type of calculator that most of you guys are going to have. Okay, if you have specific questions with your calculator today, make sure you come and see me, during class or during study help, so we can make sure that you understand which buttons you have to press first, because it can be different from calculator to calculator.